order.
Okay, so I'll call to order the August 13th, 2020 meeting of the Keizer Traffic Safety, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from July. Do I have any comments, any things people want to adjust?
I move that the minutes of Thursday, July 9th, 2020 be affirmed as written.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the July 2020 minutes, say aye. Aye. Any abstentions or noes? Okay, seeing none, we shall move on. So next is the election of the vice chair, and that would be because Pat has stepped down. Do we have anyone who would like to step up to that position or volunteer someone else for it?
Why is everybody?
I was looking at Jamie.
Don't look at Jamie.
For what position? Vice chair?
Vice chair.
I'm not here that
For the remaining of this
It's
term
not worth
or
a
for
bucket of
the next
spit,
term?
like you said.
It's for the remaining of this term.
Term.
To be in January, we'll re-elect, I think it's going to be that January, yeah. So we'll just be for the next.
You could be a lame duck vice chair.
Do we nominate somebody?
You'd have to nominate yourself or someone.
I'd like to nominate Wayne.
I'll
Seems
nominate
vital.
Hirsch.
Gosh, we have real competition here.
Don't all fight over it. Okay, well, do we have to have a second on that nomination?
Well, you have a nomination for Wayne and a nomination for her, so you'll
Oh.
need to vote. It's not really a nomination thing you do, it's just a, it's consent, so a vote, so you'll say, oh, everybody in favor?
Yeah, I've been president several times and chair, so we'll wait till January. I thank you very much, but I'll defer to Wayne.
Okay.
Call the vote.
All in favor of Wayne stepping up as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wayne?
No.
Rail track.
Yeah, he'll meet me out in the back afterwards.
Okay, well, thank you.
My bike will
We'll try to
have
make you
broken
busy
spokes.
these next few months.
Thank you, Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the appearance of interested citizens. Do we have any that would like to speak tonight? Please come up, state your name and city of residence.
My name is Lisa Sajeka. I've been a resident of Keizer since 2004. Last meeting, we were talking about speeding along Shoreline, and the officer said that we should let the Keizer Police Department know when we see things that aren't right. And I'm looking for some clarification because typically I walk in the morning, typically it's early morning, there's not a lot of traffic, so I don't have anything. But Monday, I was walking 8:30, 8:45 at night. It was almost dark. And I watched 3 people run the stop sign at Shoreline and Cummings to turn onto Cummings and go where they needed to go quickly. So I'm not sure I just don't know what the protocol is.
I'll defer to Officer Madej.
So normally when those happen, you would call them in, and typically I would get traffic complaints and we would distribute those out as far as with our traffic safety unit. What I will say is at 8:30 at night, we don't have our motors out.
Right.
We just have patrol.
I mean, it just feels like
One that we would have to divvy out to patrol.
Okay.
Um,
Because it's past. I mean, that's what the problem is. It's not like something that, oh no, it's happening right this second. Yeah, no, it's done. They run it.
And
That's
when
not a
the time
911.
came in, we actually went out on Shoreline multiple times, but because of the construction,
Right.
it actually had everything shut down.
Yeah.
There was, I won't say 0 issues because every single area has predominantly 1 or 2 at any random different times. There's no pattern that you can actually set up for it.
Right.
But if that's an issue over at Cummings, there's a pattern.
Yeah.
Me knowing right now will at least allow me to pass that on to patrol when we have any spare time during those hours.
Yeah.
Guy, just a point of interest. That's not a 911 call. We called
Oh, no,
No.
I have the Keizer non-emergency
Yeah.
number programmed into my
Just to
phone.
clarify.
The other thing that, oh shoot, my brain just left. I was gonna say something else.
Well, if you
And now I can't.
remember, just while we're in between something, you can wait.
It's just the fact that at 8:30 at night when it's that, if people aren't paying attention and so many people are on their longboards and on their skateboards, they're not paying attention to the traffic. So just those people, it's just it's a weird time of night. It's hard to see. People who don't have lights think that they're completely visible. People in cars, they don't see them, so.
And it is getting darker at that night.
Yeah.
Did you have any demographics of the people driving? Were they young, old?
Nope. They were fast.
They were fast, okay.
So it could be either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They could be
Or neither.
middle-aged.
Is there any sidewalks that are over there? Because I see on our list that we have as a priority project between Cummings Lane North and Shoreline Drive, a connection to Cummings Elementary. Does that have any?
There is, because of the construction, they ripped up a portion of the sidewalk there at that intersection, and it's still not completed. It's just a big hole. It's got some pylons, but not even caution tape around the pylons.
Okay.
So you have to walk on the other side of the street or in the street if you weren't planning ahead. So,
So maybe that's something we could ask Bill or Mike. He
well, I'm
knows.
sure that it's on the agenda. When
Yeah.
the thing, it was like, there's just a few little points that need to get fixed up.
Yeah, Mike indicated in the email today that was stuff to be finished up.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
I have a
And-
comment.
Oh,
A long time ago, we talked about pedestrian flags to help people cross intersections on not real busy streets because that would cause problems, but we were going to put the pedestrian flags in our toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be a good place to pull out pedestrian flags?
What does the neighborhood think about it? Because they're the ones that would probably have to implement it.
Pedestrian flags are where you have, if you're crossing the street, you have a set of flags on both sides, and you grab a flag and you signal your intention to cross the street, and the cars will slow down, hopefully.
That intersection, I mean, crossing the street, it's not that it's a busy intersection, it's just that people don't stop at the stop signs.
So it's,
But the intersection one farther north, where it's Rafael and Shoreline, if you had a flag something a little bit higher to indicate you wanted to cross, because the great big crosswalk they don't pay attention to, and the body, a portion of the way into the intersection they don't pay attention to, but maybe the flag would get their attention.
it's,
I mean, it's just a really weird, super wide intersection,
yeah, I'm familiar with it.
so.
Huge.
so are people like pausing or they're just going right through it?
Their foot grazes the brake barely. I mean, it's like it's, yeah.
It's kind of a
It's like
California
a meeting
stuff.
in the time of COVID. It's,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
they don't,
Okay.
yeah.
So
It was
it's-
not even, it wasn't even what we used to call California stops when I was a kid. It is like, you can see the car go,
Right.
and it just goes through it.
So, so it's not a visual thing where they're not
No.
seeing it. They're,
No,
they're
it's
just choosing
that
to.
they don't care.
Why bother to stop? Nobody's here.
Right. It's just, I
Right.
mean, it's a
When-
suggestion, right?
Yeah. And I've seen that by my house too, in the mornings.
I see a lot of bikes do that.
Well, that's legal now.
No, it's not legal to run a stop sign. Now, cyclists have to, and
Well-
Officer Lede will back me up, they have to show due caution in
Well,
going
right.
through all traffic control devices.
Right.
Not,
Clear it before they go through.
yeah,
Right, yeah, you wouldn't try and do a movie go through, you know.
if you're flying through it, you're not doing due caution
No,
as a cyclist.
no, but you can, if you check the intersection and it's clear, you're allowed to go without stopping.
So I
Yes.
sent an email to our night shift supervisors to pass it on to their guys.
Thank you so much.
So hopefully we can get that
Okay.
under control.
I mean, I know that they do it, so I don't trust that anybody's gonna stop until they completely stop. But,
Car out there and
yeah,
make sure it happens.
because, you know, I don't want to be dead right in my pedestrian
Sure.
lanes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
We'll talk.
Hello, state your name and your city of residence.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Heredia, and resident of Keizer since January of this year. My husband and I moved here from South Salem.
Welcome to Keizer.
Thank you, thank you. I'm just slowly getting acquainted with everybody and all the boards. So I'm here today because we live over off Delight and Chamawa, right on the side of one of the McNary entrances, the backside, I'm gonna say. And so when we moved in, we noticed it was a narrow street. It's a smaller street, what seemed like, not too many people maybe. So I was fine. And then the construction started with what seemed like maybe we were going to get sidewalks because there isn't really a sidewalk for anyone to walk in. And we noticed that we have a lot of children walking by. We're right next to the high school and also right in between Cummings Elementary. And so there's just a lot of kids, families walking all the time. So we were really excited to see that we were probably going to get some sidewalks because it's a narrow street. And then they finished the construction and we didn't really get sidewalks, we got lines instead. But I mean, they seemed to be somewhat helpful. We had more people walking by, riding their bikes, it was really nice. But we started really paying attention to the speed that people were driving at. One, because it's really loud. You can usually tell when people are kind of like revving their motors and just speeding through. But we started noticing it constantly. And maybe we said, okay, maybe it's just during part of the morning or later in the afternoon, but it's all day, all night. People are just driving really fast. And we have children walking by all the time at all hours of the night. There's kids all the time, families. And I've even noticed that my neighbor kids, their parents won't let them out unless they're being supervised like very closely, just because how fast cars are kind of speeding by. And the areas where it's kind of meant for them to kind of walk or kind of hang out or something, there's cars parked there, and so it's not really a safe area for them to be at anyways. So yeah, we wanted to come, and my husband and I couldn't be here tonight, but we wanted to raise that concern because we also noticed that there isn't any speed limit signs or anything like that. There's no like school zone signs. And again, we live in between two schools, and so we just kind of thought that's odd.
So I know with the school zones, they only have to sign that there's a school zone, I believe a quarter mile from the school itself, your school grounds.
Not sure if that
Does
answers.
that sound right?
It sounds about right, and Officer Leday will correct me. We're talking about elementaries getting that only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true too. And so if you're more than a quarter mile from the elementary school,
Huh.
you wouldn't see it at all.
So we noticed that on the other side, so McNary, so you have Chamawa, and then on the other side, I forgot what road that is.
Lock Haven.
Okay, yeah, so there is school zone signs on that side.
That's because of Keizer Elementary.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm going to bring up again that Cummings Lane and, I'm sorry, no, what was the two you said? Delight and Chamawa
Yeah.
are on the list with the priority for a connection to the Cummings Elementary. So I don't know what the priority list on there is, but it does show that they are going to get connectivity of sidewalks on that too.
And do we know that we're not going to have another one of those multi-use paths, right?
From the last word that I got from Mike and Bill was the multi-use path was what we could afford right at this point in time to meet the kids' needs for both McNary and Cummings, because I grew up here. Kids walk down the middle of the light both ways, so this was a way of at least getting something. And the sidewalks on both sides, because it's an old county road, the right-of-way is really off and the utilities are on one side and the cost would have been very prohibitive to do it right now. But once the portion that the school district is doing on their property, there will be a connection, a walkway from Cummings Elementary, or from Cummings Lane all the way to Chimowa, connecting with the walkway into McNary to be able to walk all the way over to Lock Haven.
Oh, okay, wow. Okay, that would be
But
nice.
the school district is doing some of the work. We've done some of it with what we could with the budget we had.
When did
But-
you say you moved there?
January of this
So
year.
did you notice during the school year when there was more kids around?
Yeah, because we were there, I mean, right before kind of COVID hit and everybody kind of went home. So yeah, we noticed that. And I also one day I just stopped, I'm like, why is there so many people walking here all the time? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're in between two schools. And so yeah, there's kids, I mean, walking by themselves all day. Well, when school was in session, but now that it's not, kids are still out.
Right.
And especially with limited hours with school. So, I mean, I was thinking, well, it might not be a problem if school's not in session, but the thing is, kids are still going to be out. And
I was just wondering if you noticed the speeding when kids were still going to campuses.
yeah, I want to say it's kind of been there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the demographic, it's anyone. It's really anyone. It's not just young people, but it's anyone. Big trucks, small cars, motorcycles. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think they're doing a shortcut?
It seems like it maybe, because it does seem like it's a very congested street now. Where I didn't think it was going to be a busy street because it's so narrow, but no, it's actually a pretty busy street. Yeah, and I remember when the high school was giving the Chromebooks out, we had a huge line of traffic. And I was like, oh, this is really strange. But yeah, it's because of the connecting high school right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was just wanting to hear any suggestions on if there's going to be any speed limit signs or anything like that around that area, just because there isn't any.
Right. And so generally they're 25 in the residential neighborhoods. I don't know what the Public Works' criteria, how far away from another sign you have to be.
Tomorrow, 35.
If I may interject, that's an obvious residential zone, meaning that if you have your license in Oregon, you know residential postings, residential zones. So I mean, I honestly don't believe a sign would make a difference whether it would be there or not in your particular area, just because there's zero question about it being a residential zone.
Right.
If speeding is an issue, again, this is kind of those things, we take speeding complaints, and our traffic safety unit knows where we can focus in on is when people give us the information.
Okay.
We do need more than just the broad times though. 3 guys that try to cover almost 40,000 people within the city.
Yeah.
So if we can narrow down specific days and more specific times as far as volumes go, then we would be much more effective.
Okay.
So if you're able to narrow something down for me, it would make a huge difference so I can actually assign one of our motor units specifically out there and then what particular part of the 100 block of Newburgh where the issues are.
Right, okay.
Or I think you said Delight Street on that one there.
Delight Street.
But those are cut-through streets, without a doubt. So we do end up getting some cut-through traffic. I mean, that's kind of the norm through 3 of those streets that cut between Lock Haven and Chimowa.
Okay. Yeah, I would say during the day, it's probably around 2 to 3 maybe, just kind of that afternoon rush, mid-afternoon rush, and then in the afternoon again, from like 6 to 7, we'll see it when people are kind of off work. Yeah.
Is that part of the West Neighborhood Association?
Yes.
Because, so the city has, if you could get your neighbors to come to an agreement that there's a need for something to be done, the city has that application where you can, if you get enough neighbors, you can apply for at least the city to consider some type of other traffic calming. But there is an application that you have to fill out.
Yeah, okay.
Can I clarify?
I'll have to look the area over again. I think that got restriped, so I'm not sure if we can put our speed radar trailer in there, because we can't block any bike zones or anything else like that.
Right.
But I'll look over that area and see if there's.
There is kind of a dip on Delight in that
Yeah.
area, so it's,
I think I actually might live right around that dip.
yeah.
Yeah, I live like right in the middle.
So traffic calming devices might be an idea, long as it's not speed bumps.
Can we fill it with water?
Trust me, living here, I've seen water there.
Yeah, speed bumps is one thing, but before we get to something more advanced like that, we were thinking.
There are many different traffic calming devices, including just paint. So,
Okay.
more data though that Officer Leday can work with.
Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Chair de Blasi. I just want to say thank you for coming. I'd also like to interject that Sergeant Leday does a great job with our traffic people and our traffic officers and patrols. It's pretty amazing to watch. I mean, I've seen people come in and say, we have a problem with this, and all of a sudden, there are things that are happening that are trying to help resolve those things. So I just want to tip my hat to the police department and all the work that they're doing for us. And again, to you for coming in and talking to us about it.
I would like to get some feedback from you once school starts again, where there's in-classroom stuff. That might be later next year, but that might be some good input too.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So Carol Dorfler, I'm president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association. I've been here multiple times, and these two people live in my neighborhood. It's an ongoing problem with speeding, running stop signs, and it just continues. It just goes on and on and on. So Officer Leday, if you could station your officers, your motor people, perhaps in these areas and just observe what's going on, that would be a really good thing. It would be helpful to the neighbors because they then realize that somebody is kind of looking out for them. We have Lisa who lives on Hornet, which is the north or the south end, and here we have Elizabeth in the north end. I'm kind of in the middle, and the same thing is happening all over the neighborhood. I mean, there's 3 representatives here from different areas of our neighborhood, and I'm sure it happens. I know it happens in Mike's area. We've talked about this, and there has got to be some resolution to this somehow. And I'm not the authority. I'm the observer. And I see multiple times. I live on the corner of Raffel and Shoreline. They don't stop. What the hell is stopping? They don't stop. It's just like, ooh, well, we're going that way. So, sorry, but it's a continuing problem, and I just needed to add that. It's just not. It's never been resolved.
Right.
So.
Yeah,
I can personally say that I've sat on Fifth Avenue as far as, and I was actually stationed each time south, so it would be just south of 20. And I monitored speed down that entire section. I have 0 speeding violations so far. The only stops that I've made has been from like loud stereos, just to be able to make a presence to stop somebody. So again, when we start talking about traffic issues, what people observe and what's actually happening, we can't be there 24/7.
We don't expect you to be, we do not expect you to be there 24/7. I'm just saying, if perhaps there's more presence there of officers coming through, People pick up on that. They're aware of that. The word gets out. Hey, they're patrolling the area, you know, you kind of got to watch out.
Wish you could see us out there because we've concentrated in that area more than any other in the last month.
I live right on the corner.
Had 3 bikes in that area, including myself. So I want to assure you, the area is being observed right now.
Good.
We're not failing in that presence. We're doing our best right now, but we can't write what we don't see at the moment.
Does the city have, I know we have the board that tells you how fast you're going. Do we
Played that out there multiple times.
Radar
have
trailer.
ones that just collect data without telling the driver how fast they're going?
So we do have mechanisms of data collection, yes. But not from the trailer.
Okay.
That doesn't tell you stop sign violation.
No, it doesn't tell you that, but
Specific is speed.
it'll tell you the speed, yeah.
Is that Public Works' equipment?
That's actually, that's our equipment.
Oh, okay.
What about-
However, the issues that we had before were during certain times when school zones were going into effect and everything else, and so in order to compare apples to apples, we have to have certain timelines to where we can actually see if we have a comparable issue, so to say.
I know Officer Powell was patrolling my neighborhood, which is just next door to you guys,
Oh, you're up there about a mile or so.
a mile,
Yeah, it's about a mile,
give or take.
give or take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or less. Yeah, and we have speeding over in our,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
it's all over the.
It's an endemic thing, but I'm just saying, here we have 2 representatives, and I did not urge either of them. Elizabeth contacted me through social media and said, what can we do? And I said, come. So I leave it there.
So what I'll also leave you with is if we have a traffic problem, I'm hoping people don't wait a month to come to the Traffic Safety Committee meeting and to call it in with a non-emergency line. So it's something that we can actually go and address because we field those calls and that's what we're responsible for. That is specifically what our unit's responsible for.
Yeah, I would agree that don't just wait for us to,
Oh, I will post that on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, well, yeah. I know I hear, and I guess it's always hard to tell if people are speeding, but, because people might have mufflers that are designed to make as much noise as possible, whether they be a truck or a little speed car, but I hear it a lot on River Road even at night.
Mr. Chair, if I may, something else to post on your Facebook, because a lot of people will be walking and may see but they'll have their phones. Well, just yesterday, I went through and changed all the phone numbers in the website, so all they have to do is click on the phone number and it automatically populates it, and all they have to do is press send, and then they'll be connected to whatever number they're calling. Thank you. Great.
And you're referring to city numbers.
Yeah, the
Those.
non-emergency.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we will move on. Thank you, everyone, and you're welcome to stay. If you have other things to do, we understand. So we'll move on to the review of the prioritized sidewalk connectivity table. So we should all have gotten a version of that. And any thoughts? Any upset folks that their pet area didn't get bumped up to the top?
Well, I think this looks fine. It doesn't look like it's in priority. I mean, high priority and then medium priority, but in between it's not telling me what's 1 through 5 unless you do the 2 stars, which is Manbin Drive and Windsor Island Road. So I'm not sure where the numbers lie and what, I'm pretty sure that Mike is probably putting that together.
Steve?
Mike Griffin.
Oh, Mike, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with it.
I know when I did it, I tried to give a start and stop in hopes that we could maybe get tighter dollar numbers on how much it would cost if we were going to do it. So I don't know if that's something that we could get as a ballpark, or at least a per foot, linear foot cost, and then that would allow us to have a little more sense of how much these things would cost. Yes,
For Windsor Island, that technically connects two big neighborhoods together. And Windsor Island is on the long range for improvement. But right now, if we just got filling in the gaps, would sure help a lot. I just don't think right away we're going to get sidewalks on both sides, which I think we should get, especially with the development that's going off in that neighborhood. As far as equipment and everything. So not only do we have new apartments, new housing going in there, we have the gravel pit and the big trucks coming through on Willow Lake, and an elementary school, Keizer Elementary, that kids from the apartments are walking to.
So you're referring to the Windsor Island Road on the bottom of the page?
No, at the top.
There's two pages, Wayne.
Oh.
There is a detailed report. Yeah, the one that you're looking at. It's at the top.
Yeah.
So that's the first one that if this wasn't priority, that's one of the top ones.
Yeah.
It's the Windsor Island with the distance of 2,700.
There's a lot of, they remodeled a house and are building some, I think they're habitat houses, and they put brand new sidewalk on the east side for about 100 yards, and it stops. There's no connection to it. There's no connection beyond it. And I understand that's how we do things, but it looks silly. And there are people walking on both sides in the grass, etc., onto the street. We have this beautiful connection coming up Chamawa shoreline, and it ends right there.
But, getting back to what you're saying, by trying to do it a little chunk at a time, that seems like...
But it looks even worse now. It's like, why didn't they finish it?
Well, I would have to say, and this is something that just I've seen and I've thought about it. The one that they just did over on Verda, Dearborn, where it meets Verda, they put the new sidewalk there, and I understand kind of in concept why they ended it where they did at Verda, but right now people are still walking past the end of that sidewalk. So why they didn't put the sidewalk, that extra 10 feet, would have made it a little bit safer, especially considering there's a bus stop right there.
That's the other thing on Windsor Island. That is, we have bus stops on Windsor Island.
Now, I'm sure that would have cost maybe a couple thousand more, but...
Again, as you stated earlier, I don't know what the costs for some of this. We might have to have baked food sales or whatever. But just to get the thinking, let's try to do that, I think is important. And of the list that's been picked that are bolded, I agree with all of them.
Okay. Wayne, did you have any comments?
And I think almost all of them, there's somewhere a school associated with it, and that's...
Well, wherever you live, you have to get to River Road. Well,
Or around River Road?
Yeah.
that's where all the stores and shops are.
Right.
Or you're getting to you're either going to River Road, you're going to a school, or you're going to a park. So, some areas are well done. We shouldn't, like out where we live, out by Park Meadow, it's pretty well sidewalked. you want to go anywhere.
I'm amazed at Brooks.
Hmm?
Brooks between Manbrin, is that Manbrin there?
Yeah, Manbrin.
And Alder. It's a very busy street for kids to walk on, and there's not a sidewalk on either side.
Well, this
So is
is,
Chamawa. I mean, all from Lock Haven to the park, wherever you want to go, you know.
Well, and that one's considered a medium priority. Is there any suggestion that we want to give in the order that's on here for what's in medium and what's in high?
Well, so,
Or can we?
I don't know, is that something we can,
decided this last month.
Yeah.
You picked the priorities, so, I
yeah.
mean, it's been around all the time.
We weren't here.
yeah,
I think we have to realize that a good portion of Keizer was old county roads, and sidewalks were never required, and the street on either side of this facility has no sidewalks all the way. So, and
Well, what we've set out as a high priority is going to take, how many years? We don't know, 5, 10?
I don't know, do we
So
have
if you
access?
just put the rest as medium and let it go, and then they may work their way up the list towards their higher priority next year, the year after, but I don't think you have to worry about it too much.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like the city's going to change their policy about sidewalks, that the owner of the property has to pay for it.
Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Chair de Blasi. May I make a suggestion that you identify places where you might be able to get some funding for, like the school funding the additional grants?
School routes, yeah.
And see if we can make those a priority, and then maybe there's some city money we can put with those to do some additional things. But if we can identify those first, and then if you can sign a member of the committee to come to city council and present it, that would be great.
Do we want to have a sidewalk group?
I mean, you mean, we should find a source of paying for the sidewalks first? Well, it seems to me the
If we can
city,
identify some that there's some federal funding or state funding available to
Or that
put
we
the
would know
sidewalks
about,
in.
or that we would-
If we do the research and say, look, here's some areas where we can get some additional funding to put some sidewalks in, then that makes it a lot easier. Then we can go to Public Works and we can say, okay, what would it cost to do the rest of this? And then we can adapt a budget to make it happen. But if the city is gonna have to pay for the whole sidewalk, it's gonna be a while. There's just not a lot of money in the budget.
well, Keizer Road in Norrin has been, we already put in last year for the Safe Routes to School grant for that project. We didn't get it, but that is another source. And there's also even a possibility of the Safe Routes to Parks, because there's a park right there. So those two we've already identified as, and there's some money for that. But that's next fiscal year, and we want to get our partners from the school district, because Jesse, the principal there at Kennedy, they're remodeling and they're trying to figure out what they need.
Right. And I think those connections are extremely important. And Jamie, you being on this committee is a great benefit to us. And if we can tap some of that knowledge and expertise, then everybody wins.
Right.
So anyway, that's just my suggestion. Thank you,
I think
Mr.
we do need a
DeBlasi.
working group then, so
Yeah.
that we can hone in on it, because this hour, we
No, it's too, you need to be just
honed in on this.
socially distanced, but over a table.
Exactly.
But Hirsch, you've mentioned in the past how Salem's got staff who do the grant writing and we don't. And maybe
Right.
you, Davids, have said that. Does anyone know if we could tap into the COG to help with our grant writing?
Always. But again, we'll have to work with city council, because it's an expenditure. You know, COG doesn't come in and, do it free, but there's ways of working with Mike Jaffe and the staff, yes.
So is that something then
Committee of Governments, or what is COG?
council?
Council of Governments?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Willamette
Willamette Valley Council of Governments.
So is that
Did I get it
something
right?
that-
You got it right.
Is that something we would have to, like, not be able to ask for until next year, because we're out of the budget already, and you would have to have some type of funds to give?
I think informally as a group or appointed individual, we could, I'll probably see Mike the Friday after next when we're doing the bike repair thing, because he's been coming by. Could ask, could that ever happen? And figure out what the steps, but I know we have to keep city council not only informed, but approval.
Can you guys, what is the order for us to be able to get to writing the grant? At what point does the city council have to be involved?
They have to write the grant.
No,
I-
you just have to ask permission. If you
Yeah.
find a grant that you
Right.
feel like the city would be eligible for, you need to get the information about how much of a match would be required. That's the information that would affect the city budget. And then you would go to council to ask permission to apply for that grant. And after that, it's pretty much in your ballpark. The parks or Public Works would help you. I think you've
I've done it,
Yes,
yeah, and I think David has, like for the helmets, we went to the council, said we need to buy this amount of money, we have this opportunity to get this money from this group, can we do it? They always say yes, and then we proceed.
Because the Mid-Willamette Valley COG will help us write the grant. So I just never knew what our next step was. So I think we need to see what we can do about getting just a core group together real quick to present to us on the 10th of September, if that's...
So, okay, so, do I have any volunteers? I would think no more than 3.
Agreed.
Can we discuss this a minute? I have a comment.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I was the one who brought up the sidewalk issue or not. My concern was the city of Keizer has a policy, I don't know if it's written or not to improve the sidewalks, pedestrian in neighborhoods where it's just a few individuals would benefit from that improvement that the city paid for. So the general idea was that was the operating, because it's expensive, and I know that. We brought it up saying, you could have that as a priority budget issue to support the people that already live here, not the development, not the construction, so on. That was one of the things behind that, is that the city could, in a policy statement, say, we're going to try and improve sidewalks wherever we can, and we're going to spend, I don't care what it is, $5,000 a year, $25,000 a year. To put the responsibility back on the volunteer committee whose job was to offer advice to the city council, seems like, that really doesn't seem like that would be our job, to be writing grants. But I don't see that. I don't see the part, maybe they're doing it, but if that should be then part of the city's, you're gonna be on this committee, you should understand you need to look for grants and go get money for us. I just more of a comment. I really kind of was hoping that we didn't have to go find the money. And I know we need it, but I thought at some point in time, doesn't the city owe, I don't know, pick a street somewhere, owe those people, they didn't put sidewalks in, they built a house in 1957, but we're going to put it in for the safety of the people in that neighborhood. Whether it's Shoreline or Windsor Island or something out, there's tons of places that only really help a dozen people. But you do a dozen every year and you finally, that's what cities do. Not very well, some of them, but that's, at least I think that's what they should be doing. And we're not going to improve it all. We should be looking for grants. If we see something, I'd call Bill on the phone or call Hirsch and say, who else should we talk to? But I don't really feel competent writing grants. I've written them. But in general, to have somebody come on the committee, one of the skills you have to be on the traffic safety committee is the ability to write a grant. Well, then say so. It's not, and it shouldn't be, I don't really think it should be any part of it.
Well, no, it's a volunteer effort.
Yes.
And so not anything that's required, but Keizer Rapids Park is there because people on the Parks Board learned to write grants
Yes.
and applied for some major ones. So, but they did it as a volunteer. Nobody asked them to. It was,
Yes.
they wanted to get something done, and that's how they did it.
And the city, yeah.
And that's where I think that the COG can help us out, and I don't believe it is cost. So I want to go back to seeing if we can set a date and ask for 2 people to join me to sit down and kind of pencil it out so that I can go in front of the council and ask if we can write the grant.
The Safe Routes to School one is the big one coming up.
It is. We have 6 months of hard work that we need to get done, and I want to see this through next year. And if we can get a couple funds from the city as well, that might connect some of these areas that we're going to ask for. And I'd say let's not, if we were denied on the ones that we had already done to Safe Routes to School, we add those on top of what we're going to ask for. Let's put a robust north, south, east, and west area by each of the schools, because I'm seeing that literally Cummings, Kennedy, McNary are listed on this on this report. If we start with those little ones and then we move ourselves out, we might be able to work with it. But I do think the COG can help us out, and I kind of want Hirsch to help me out with it.
I'll work with you.
So now I need a third. Wayne?
Do you want to, Wayne? I go.
Please do.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Safe route to park. Is that
after
what
the
we got
meeting tonight, we
behind
could
that?
talk about a time to.
That'd be great. That would be great.
All right, great.
Let's move this forward.
There's,
Any other comments?
well, something we're going to talk about later on, but it's related. The Oregon Community Paths Program also has some deadlines, but we'll talk about it later.
Did you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Chair de Blasi. If you want answers to some of your questions, Mr. Dempster, one of the problems that we have is our tax base in Keizer is extremely low, probably one of the lowest in the state. And so if you want additional sidewalks and you want the city to pay for them, then we need to figure out some more tax monies so that there's monies to do that. And the alternative to that is writing grants.
Our motto has volunteerism.
Right.
Right on.
The other thing to remember is that Mayor Clark has done a ton of work with the Mid-Willamette Council of Governments, and it would be pretty easy for her to say, "You owe me here."
Yeah.
And so,
She's the chair.
let's not be afraid to contact the Mid-Willamette Council of Governments.
Okay, I think we have a plan. A plan for a plan. Okay, moving on. The next one is the bike parking at Lowe's. That was an issue that I brought up. A couple of months ago, I noticed that the bike parking in front of Lowe's, if you're staring at the building, it would be to the left of the entrance. It was always a convenient merchandise lockup space for the company, which didn't make me too happy, and I've told them a few times, and maybe that's why they decided to get rid of it. They thought, well, if we can't lock our merchandise to it, then we'll just get rid of it. But it disappeared, and now I brought it up to Shane, and I'll read the email he sent me. I talked to him the other night, but this is essentially what he told me. So he said he received my email about the bike rack, and our code compliance officer contacted Lowe's and spoke to the manager there twice. She's a new manager, and she was unaware as to when and why the bike rack was removed, but assured Ben, the compliance officer, that it would be taken care of. And she said that she looked to see if the one that was there was stored somewhere, but it was not, and she couldn't find it. Since those initial conversations, Ben has attempted to follow up with the manager or any other manager a couple different times, but has not been able to connect with a live person and has had to leave messages. The most recent contact was shortly after the council meeting that I saw Shane and talked to him about it. So he said that since we didn't hear back, we sent our official compliance notice with the date of August 24th, and they're hoping that to work with Lowe's to remedy this issue. But if they remain unresponsive, we will take further action to pursue the issuance of a citation if they have to, if the city has to. And that he hasn't, when he's been there, he hasn't noticed that it's been replaced yet. And it's been a few weeks since I've been to Lowe's, so I haven't seen if they replaced it.
Wasn't there today.
Okay. So, I'm glad to see that we're working on it, but I will throw out there for you to ponder, because it's been brought to my attention that bike racks, there's nothing in the code that says they have to remain after they've been put in, and I'm not sure if that's exactly true, but if it's this, I guess I get this to the spirit of the law rather than just the immediate text of the law. So if that's something that we need to actually explicitly write in the code, I would be in favor of having us either have someone go to the next council meeting to make that pitch, or somehow.
I would be more inclined to check with development and, Shane, and double check with him exactly if they meet code when they build it and then remove it later, what citation are they using? Because you mentioned there were going to be a citation. It must be written somewhere.
Yeah. I would think that
Yeah.
you can't cite someone if there's nothing that would give you authority to do that. So I can ask Shane that question. So assuming that that is not in the code and we're bluffing, would you all be...
I just don't think the city would bluff. There must be another section that they're referencing that isn't in the same section as installation of bike racks and the size and distance where they're supposed to be. So I don't think they're bluffing. There must be something.
Okay. Well, I'll double check with Shane. But if it does come to be where we need more explicit language in the
I would say go to the planning commission first.
Okay. Has anyone noticed this problem in any other businesses?
How about just the opposite? I talked, a couple of years ago, talked Columbia Bank into putting in a bike stand outside their door, where that is, Columbia Bank is down by Domino's. Never, and I go in there quite often, never seen anybody use it. Just the opposite. Yeah.
The only recent one that I have seen, and they do meet code, is by the sub shop, coffee shop, Mexican restaurant. They put a nice bike rack in, but it is at the south end. And of course, right now, nobody's going into the coffee shop, but when that was operational, all the people that were riding bikes were parking them there because it's way down at the other end.
Schoolhouse Square.
Yeah, it's cool, Schoolhouse Square, which they met code. It's a nice rack. It's within 50 feet of the entrance, but of the building, but there's 3 businesses there.
Which entrance then? One
Yeah.
entrance.
And so I've saw, and it's a lot of times staff there at the
Mexican.
at the Human Being is they're parking and locking it to their little post there that says, for their drive-through and or locking them to the front door. So it'd have been nice if there was one at both ends, but they did meet code.
Well, that's, in my humble opinion, I'd like to see where, when some development comes to the city, that they reach out to us to see if we support the location of a bike rack, or we might have a suggestion for a better spot within that development.
I've always wanted to be able to give a suggestion, not a requirement or anything, just, hey, it'd really be good here. But that's not in code.
Well, I don't know, would that be a code thing? I mean, because, it's really an authority, like, who
No.
has an authority?
Yeah, we don't want to, we just merely a suggestions.
Right. I can ask Shane that
Yeah.
question too. Okay. All right. So moving on, we'll do project reports, and I'll start with you, Wayne.
Thank you, Chair de Blasi. I've been given the project of Oregon Community Paths Program, and I haven't done anything on the last 3 months, but I've actually looked at it today. And so let me tell you briefly what it is. Oregon Community Paths, or OCP, will fund grants for project development, construction, reconstruction, major resurfacing, or other improvements of multi-use paths that improve access and safety for people walking and biking. There's money available, grant money. Some of the money comes from federal, some of it comes from state. If it's federal money, the projects could be from $75,000 to $750,000. That's for project refinement, which is defining the project. And then $200,000 up to $4 million for construction. There's a 30% match. For state money, there's a 10.27% match for federal money. There are project refinement, let me just define that a little bit better. Determining the need, narrowing down the list of reasonable alternatives, kind of like what we're doing already on the sidewalk connectivity. Researching potential environmental concerns, estimating developing and construction costs, and documenting community input and support. So all this is defining the project. And then if we do find a project, we do need to act fairly fast. We would need to write a letter of interest by in between October 1st and October 31st. ODOT will review the letter of interest to ensure project eligibility and reply to the applicant within 2 weeks of receipt. Those agencies whose projects have been deemed eligible may apply between November 1st and January 31st. So we would need to, if we want to do this, the Oregon Community Paths Program, we need to identify a project and then do our work, cost it out, plan it, all the things that we can do, and then get it in a timely manner to request a grant. So that's what it is. As far as a specific project, I don't have a specific project in mind. It's kind of like where we were 3 years ago when we were trying to define a safe routes to school project. And we came up with a couple. We narrowed down the list, and we had Kennedy and we had Cummings. And this is for connectivity. It doesn't have to be on the roadway. It's like neighborhood. Projects must improve a critical length, a regional path, or path crossing of a roadway. So that's what it is. Connections to schools, downtowns, shopping, employment, or other high-demand destinations.
So that letter of interest, what kind of information do we have to put in for that?
There's probably a format, but what the project is, a definition of the project, or a statement saying that we will be writing a request for a grant.
So other than,
And they would need enough information to determine if it's eligible. ODOT will determine that and let us know within 2 weeks if it's eligible. And then you define it even better when you actually write it.
right. So you said between October 1st and October 31st, and
So
today
there's
is,
some dates that are pretty tight if we're interested. There's 2 webinars, August 21st and September 18th. There's 2 webinars. For more information, there was one on August 7th, but we already missed that one. Sorry, I was on travel.
when was the second one?
August 21st, so I can attend that.
September 18th.
When was the one after that?
September 18th. And I can attend both of those. I'm
Are they different webinars?
not sure. Program overview webinars. So they might have different content. Between October 1st and October 1st, the letter of interest form will be open for completion. So they have their standard form, whatever it is. You can't do it until then. October 14th,
Bikes, right?
ODOT will host an online question and answer session. And then November 1st through January 31st, 2021, ODOT will accept applications for construction or project refinement grants. So this might give us another avenue to write grants.
And just to be clear, the multi-use path, can that include regular sidewalks, or does it have to be something that's that different animal?
I never saw the word sidewalk. They did say multiple use path. Projects must improve a critical length, regional path, or a path crossing of a roadway.
I think we have a couple on this list.
Which
that
could
maybe
be,
we can pluck
I'll read
out.
it again. Project development, construction, reconstruction, major resurfacing for regional paths, portions of regional paths, and critical links. If we can define what those are. It could be a city, a county, a state, it could be a school district who can apply for this, and others. Major resurfacing or other improvements of multi-use paths that improve access and safety for people walking and bicycling.
I wonder if that would include improvements within or through a park. I mean, give you an example, is it Bear Park of the north end? The city's already put it in, but they put a paved bike walking path about 7 or 8 feet wide all the way through the park, so you could get from,
Actually, it's about
you guys
5
know,
feet.
it's up by Clear Lake Elementary.
It's about 5
Anyway,
feet
so you
wide.
can walk through or ride through the park and get to another neighborhood. It's already been done.
Yeah,
but
connectivity, neighborhood
It
connectivity.
connected and it made it a lot easier for people to walk. And
5 foot wouldn't meet multi-use path standard.
No, wouldn't.
now, the other thing I would, maybe if we're going to think about this, what popped in my mind, we only have one bike path in Keizer to speak of along the Salem Parkway. So if you're really going to get the one part, the city by bike only and staying off of streets, that's about it. And that's one of the problems I had with riding it. It's hard to get off it.
There's 3 or 4 off-ramps.
Right, but I mean, there's not like, and some of those could be improved. I mean, one of the things we could think about is improving that. So kids, for example, if they're going to the elementary school, Keizer Elementary, could made that easier to get off, easier to get on down south farther, about a quarter mile, half mile. There's a way to get on, but you have to go through somebody's backyard.
Well, I thought with that thing, even though it's a separated multi-use path, you've got a high-speed road right next to it. And
It's safe.
It's
You're
not
not
very well
gonna go off
maintained.
the bike path into the highway.
No, I'm just saying, well, I have seen people do that, but I'm just saying that just the context that it's in,
I'm just saying it's connectivity if you want to get from
right.
point A to point B in a hurry on a bike.
Or walking.
I always felt like, is some car gonna come crashing towards me, or some tire come flying off a car and come at me there?
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Do we have to bring this to council as well, for the letter of interest?
Yeah, I'm sure we will. We'll need to define a project or identify a project and then bring it to council and then get their approval to write a letter of interest. Write it, see if it gets approved for eligibility, and then write in even more detail, what it actually is going to be.
So, and then how long did you say that we had to write the second letter? November through January 31st, I think.
That will be the application.
That-
November through January 31st is when we write the application for the grant.
So it sounds like we may only have 1 to 2
1 to 2 months.
council meetings.
Yeah, not a lot
that
of
we
time.
can-
Yeah, Hirsch.
I think before we even jump to council, we need to get Public Works and talk with Mike or Bill on what they're already planning. Yeah.
Do we have access to the traffic system plan?
Yes, it's on the.
It's on the website? Okay, I'll go look.
Do they have multi-use projects that you've heard of?
Not to my knowledge, but, these ideas come up, and like David mentioned, it's a multi-use park through the park. Parks Board might know more about those than we would about the streets. There might be something that's being planned for maybe Keizer Rapids or Ben Miller Park or something that might tie in. But the parks and Public Works would know at least what's thinking before we even go to, because we have to have their support before we even go to city council.
Can we get that in between meetings, that message to Bill, and then have a
I'm
response?
sure somebody from the committee could
Yeah.
talk to them, yeah.
Okay.
Mike's just on vacation for a week, but Bill's.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bill Brown.
Just one more little piece of information. Oregon Community Paths is a new ODOT grant program.
That's what I think I sent the email about, where it's had an old program and they kind of morphed it into this, right?
It was called something else. Oregon Community Paths is the evolution of bike pedestrian portion of the Connect Oregon program.
So would you be able to talk to Bill to see if he could tell you?
Yes, sure. I can do that.
Great. Okay.
Nobody talks about that.
Just to determine what is already in the works.
If they have something in the works, yeah, that we could tie in with and.
Swimming pool over on the
and-
other side.
Center.
Huh?
Who's the
Croc
parks?
Center.
Oh, I guess Roland's the parks.
Access to the Croc Center.
Yeah, or who's in charge of parks? The
Robert.
committee.
Lawyer is too.
They considered it one time.
He's under the lawyer.
I was thinking about the committee, but should we
It's
talk
like
to
the one
Parks
there at,
Department, not Parks
Willamette
Committee?
University, that goes over
Find out
12th
what
Street.
kind of projects they have, yes, I would say Parks Department,
Okay.
yeah.
Would you be able to talk to him too?
Well, Bill would be.
Yeah, I know.
Bill
I
George
was
lets know
Okay.
Bill.
Trying to come up with an idea, yeah.
That's true, yeah, okay, great.
Okay.
Did you have anything else?
That's all I have on this project at this point, but if we do want to do it, we have to be pretty quick.
Okay. Steven's not here tonight, so I'll run over to Hirsch.
Bike friendly, this is the League of American Bicyclists program. This year it's already been done, so have to wait till the application comes out next April. Steve has already indicated that him and I can work on it. We've already done this 3 years ago, so we have some of the data already for the designation, But once we get close, we'll go to city council. There's, at least at this point, there's no cost. So the city council, the last 2 times said go for it. It's just a matter of our time filling it in, and Mike helped with all the demographic information, how many miles of road and all that, and that hasn't changed that much. But the big thing that has changed is safe routes to school, because that's one area that we were marked down on in our past applications, is we didn't have a connection with the schools, no matter what, or a few bike rodeos and stuff. But now with McCrae, Carmichael, and being assigned to both Kennedy and Cummings as a safe routes, there'll be some programs that this committee, the city can participate in, as well as the police department, that we can see what we're doing, and it might move us up on the rankings. We got an honorable mention last time, which is not horrible, but we all like to have that gold star. And engineering wise, for a city our size, we got good markings as far as the engineering, and because we do have some, Chamorro Road from the Parkway or from Keizer Station all the way to the Keizer Rapids, there's decent facilities. So, and Cherry and such. There's always room for improvement, but we did get some good points for that. But we did get marked down for not having strong connections. Their evaluation is based on that a city has direct control over the school district.
That's their assumption.
Well, in many cities back east, the schools are part of the city structure.
Right.
And we're different out here. But we got a connection now, and might as well take advantage of it. And so once we get the 2021 application comes out, and as of this date, they have not, League of American Bicyclists hasn't said when they're going to be issuing that. But once they do, Steve and I'll start on it and go to city council and tell what we're doing, and then we'll pursue. They generally give out the announcements in August, so it's like they come out generally around April. You got to get them in by June 1, and then August they tell the findings.
Okay.
So, and we're continuing to work with McCrae with Safe Routes to School for our 2 schools. It's been very difficult this year, as you could guess, with no kids. It's hard to do bike education and walking education on Zoom. So a lot of the plans that McCrae had and Council of Government had just didn't pan out. So we've been doing brainstorming and plans for next year, and see what happens come November.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing, so we'll stick with the Safe Routes to School grant and hand it over to Jamie. Did you have anything to bring up on that, other than what we've been talking about?
No, just what we've been talking about. I think that I have 2 dates that I will run past you guys a little bit after this meeting, and we can bring something back on September 10th, and maybe even work a little bit with Wayne on giving him a list of area that he might be able to, because I think we're going to work from the same list. If we come together, then it'll all be done. And
Well, and the 2 programs you could get 2 grants,
Yeah.
right?
I'm hoping
For
for
the
it.
same big project, if you break it down into smaller pieces or something.
The classic example of what you're saying is Keizer Rapids Park. There were grants from both private, public, from the county, just put it all to get one thing done. So yeah, you're right on.
Yep.
Do we, because the numbers that you said on your grant, for the fund project grants were from 75,000 to 750,000?
That was for federal funded only.
And then 200K to 4 million is that state?
That was for the construction, either state or federal.
State or federal, okay.
I have this link. Debbie sent me an email, and I can send this email to everyone about this program.
Okay.
I'll forward that.
Because if we can, we can push them both together and really get this done next year and approved. I mean, high five.
Yeah, I mean,
to
we
our-
are looking
our
at the
committee.
2021 year.
Oh, and that's where the Safe Routes to School is at now, too.
Okay.
So whatever we do between now and the end of the year is setting ourselves up to request from the council, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, yes?
Yep.
Thank you, okay. So I think I'll have more to report after we meet.
Okay,
Okay?
great. All right, moving on to committee member input. This time I'll start with David.
No.
No? Okay. Hirsch?
Yes. One of the activities for the Safe Routes to School for Cummings and Kennedy is we have put on, we'll be putting on two, we've already had the one, bike repair and helmet fitting. The first one we had was on August 7th at the Keizer Church of Christ. Beautiful place, beautiful parking lot. If we ever do a big bike rodeo, that is the place to do it. Colleen Bush is who's our transit commissioner, is a parishioner there, and she helped arrange it. Northwest Hub was there to do the bike repairs. I have no idea how many they repaired on the 7th, but I had to be between 12 and 15 bikes. And we fitted 12 helmets for kids. And that was from 2 to 4. The next one is going to be August 21st, again at the Keizer Church of Christ from 2 to 4.
Do you have enough people?
We always will need help.
Okay. I'll see if I can.
Because
make a present.
there was a couple times where it got busy. We were helping the hub and fitting helmets because there was, we had a good turnout, really.
I don't know how to repair a bike or fit a
Well,
helmet. but
well,
I'll
you'll
help.
learn how to fit a helmet. We can
Okay.
teach you.
Okay, I'll come and help then.
12. And David helped round up the helmets for us and bring them there. And we have enough to do August 21st
First, yeah.
from 2 to 4. We kind of did it a little longer than 4 o'clock because we were fitting a helmet or two, and all of a sudden, it's 4 o'clock. Well, just fit it. But so those are some of the activities that we're trying to do for the Kennedy neighborhood, but we didn't limit it in our advertising. It was for Keizer kids, period. But it was done in the Kennedy school district or neighborhood area. And the main reason we didn't do it at the school's closed. And the principal said no, and same with the principal at Cummings. So we got the next best stake, a local church that was more than willing to, as long as we did it outside and, followed protocol. We had gloves available and masks on, and I kind of let the parents actually do the clipping of the chin strap
Yeah.
and stuff, just making sure it kind of fits, so.
Okay.
Did you want to say anything else about what you had done for that? Remember we talked about that?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. We'd like to get permission. David has been excellent working with the Public Works in getting helmets, and we're starting to get down on helmets. And since this is a non-general revenue item, we get donations. and we'd like to get permission from the commission here, or the committee, to start soliciting donations. We've gotten in the past donations from the bike club, from the Rotary, so I'd like to open it up to anybody that would want to donate anything from $10 to whatever, because $200 can buy a lot of helmets for kids.
20.
Yeah, 20 helmets. So, we've gotten as much as $1,000 from groups and individuals. And with $1,000, we can really supply helmets. And if what I'm seeing is going to happen is every bike shop, whether it's the Northwest Hub or all the shops in town, there's not a one bike left. And we're talking kids' bikes too. And so there's a lot of bikes that have been bought, used, and stuff. So there's going to be a surge, I believe, when we do have school back open again. So making sure that our, especially Cummings and Kennedy and the staff there, know that, hey, if they have a kid that needs a helmet, we can help them. And the best thing now is to start now, getting the money, and then working with David knows how to do the ordering and get a good supply of helmets. So
this is an aside, I mean, related, of course. The farmer's market or whatever they're having over at the Volcano Stadium. I assume they charge for a table to be there.
that's my assumption.
Could we approach them for a kind of a donated table where we could do that one weekend?
Which
'Cause I think-
farmer's market? The one here
At the
in
Volcano Stadium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it every weekend or was it just that one?
There's several weekends. I think there'll be still a couple more before the end of the month.
I can talk to McCray and see if we can work it through safe routes to school,
Yeah.
because she's doing a booth at West Salem Market. And she knows the angle, if we can, but we're getting down on helmets, and we need to start soliciting. And so if this is on TV, we accept donations from anybody for helmets. And
I
since
think
90,
just one of us on the committee should be putting the money, I mean, not that we need a treasurer or something like that, but basically, you need a treasurer
well,
to keep track of it, where it's going, which accounts to put it in, stuff like that.
Tim, our CEO, or
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, he knows the account, and I've been bringing money, well, from like the event this last week, and they have an account. The City of Keizer Helmet Program account, and the money can be donated right to that account, and we'll go ahead and start getting helmets before the end of the year, and before the kids start coming back, and try to get a wide variety. We get helmets from Helmets Are Us, which is an organization that has Consumer Product Safety Commission approved helmets, and they're geared for nonprofits. So we get a real good deal on helmets, and we do, if people can, we ask for a $5 donation for helmets, so that goes back into the fund. So we're trying to be as self-sufficient as we can, but to get all the helmets, we do need donations, whether it's, whether it's from an organization or individuals.
Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Chair Blasey. Hirsch, just a couple, on August 31st, 2 to 4, Church of Christ bike repair and helmets. Is there any cost for the bike repair? I mean,
The bike repair is free, but there, again, Northwest Hub will take donations. I should give a plug for Keizer United. they gave a donation to help defray the cost of bike repair to the Northwest Hub for coming to Keizer.
And then here's a helmet donation.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll get it in there. And for helmets, again, we'd like a $5 donation if possible.
That's cool.
If there's an emergent need, I think David and I have both met parents that it was obviously a struggle. Samoka House was one of them, yeah, and we'll just fit them. But we do ask for that $5 donation, and that does not cover the cost of the helmets. But
The cheapest helmet you can get is about $7, $8. And when you want a large, especially for older high school age kids, you probably need to go around 10.
Yeah.
They're a little nicer looking, I guess. But you know, and Jamie, you weren't here a long time ago when Hirsch and I were kids. No, not that one. We had a grant from the state, was it ODOT?
Yep, ODOT,
Yeah,
traffic
but
safety.
we had two grants, one after another, I forgot. One of them was for like $7,000 or $8,000. And that kind of going, then somebody else donated a bunch of money to us, just cash, you know. So it takes a long time if you turn around and get $5 a helmet back.
Right.
And we haven't changed that price as long as
No.
I've been here, so it's 20 years.
Yeah,
No inflation,
yeah,
but the price of the helmets went up.
yeah.
Well, Hirsch, if you get, for the farmer's market and need somebody to,
I'll
Woman,
talk with McCrae's because she has an in.
yeah, message us and let us know if you need any
See
help.
if that's a possibility. But we're trying to do with Safe Routes as many events. She had all sorts of events planned for Cummings and Kennedy, from walking school bus stuff to whatever, and you just can't do it on Zoom. So those plans have been just put on hold, so we're trying to do these little things and promote our helmets. Plus, our helmet deal, we generally have 2 or 3 events in the year.
Yeah.
And we
It's gonna-
just haven't had any because of the COVID and.
So we gotta take them where we can find them.
Mhm. But again, donations from any group, you know.
Yep.
We'll take the bow tie.
He's making
Origami over there.
origami.
Okay, well,
I'll turn that into Tim.
Jamie, did you have any input?
No, not at this time, thanks.
I have nothing. Do you?
Nothing here.
All right, so let's move on to the staff
you, Dan.
report, and Mike is on vacation, so he sent this to read, so I'll read it for everyone. River Road ADA ramp project is complete with the exception of punch list items. He said the ramps look good, traffic signals are functioning properly, with cars moving along as usual. Shoreline Drive storm drain reroute is complete with the exception of a few punch list items. The job went well and K&E Construction did a great job. And last, River Road resurfacing project is complete with the exception of a few punch list items. The project through North Santiam paving went smoothly and the road travels nicely. Marion County completed the striping and will restripe again in late September or early October. And that was that for Mike.
Great.
So, moving on, Officer Ledet.
Nothing really new. We did retire another officer, Officer Sergeant Jeffrey Goodman. His last day was yesterday. We did this for 22 years. I think he put in 27 total in his career. So he's going to have some big shoes to have filled. He's very active throughout his entire career with us.
Didn't you have 3 retiring this year?
Yeah, Sergeant Goodman's our last one.
Okay.
So far.
I was just thinking,
So yeah, over the past couple of years, we've pretty much lost about a quarter of our seniority.
Yeah, that's what the mayor was saying.
All right, well,
A lot of training courses?
yeah,
Get them up to speed, the new guys?
yeah.
So we do have another opening that they're in the process of filling.
Yeah, because you guys just had a new one come on about 3 months ago. I think he was in
The
training.
last one was about 6 months.
6, okay.
But
Maybe.
the academy was postponed with COVID.
Yeah, that, yeah,
It's gotten pushed back a little bit for us in that training
All
process.
25.
okay.
Do you normally try to stagger those hires so you can train them individually and not have to?
It depends upon how many slots we can get at the academy at the time. I mean,
Right.
Our last big hires, when we had 5 officers at one time, we had them in 2 staggered
Oh,
crews.
Mark.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. Is that's it? Okay, thank you. Okay, council liaison.
Thank you, Thank you, Chair de Blasi. I just want to, again, just say thank you for the work that that y'all do, because as Mr. Dempster talked about, well, you know, we have all these things that need to happen. Keizer's really built on volunteers. We don't have a big tax base, and so all the little things that y'all are doing make the big difference, makes Keizer livable. For the population size that we have, our taxes should be a lot higher, and then there'd be a lot of things that the city could be doing that the volunteers wouldn't have to, but that's not the situation we're in. So I just always want to make sure that I extend my thanks for all that you do, because it does make it possible. One of the things that somebody called me about, they said that they were driving down River Road, coming down the hill past B&S Market, and they said, you know what, I got on that new road, and man, it was smooth. I just noticed, wow, this is nice. So there are a lot of good things that happen around here that usually nobody says too much about. So I guess I'm just want to say thank you for what you do to make that all possible. And the second is that we need to stop and smell the roses and look at all the good things that we have around here, because we are truly blessed. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you tell us when the next two, or I don't know when the council meetings are. What, Thursday?
Yeah,
Third Thursday?
they're this coming Monday.
Monday.
Yes. And then they're the first and the third
Okay.
Mondays
First and the third.
of each month, unless it's a holiday. And then like in September, it's Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Our next meeting will be September 10th. We have a few conversations at the end here for our work group, but other than that, we will see you next month.
The other bike path, that I always thought would be fun was if we